So I was watching a YouTube channel Just Pearly Things, and it was on a subject they had: has feminism done more harm than good? And her special guest was Destiny, who I don't know if anybody if you know, but he was famous for being a game streamer years ago, playing I don't know, StarCraft or something like that. And apparently he does a lot of YouTube channels are discussing political stuff in the states. Um, and one thing they were discussing back and forth and came up about child custody and men not getting primary custody of the children. And Destiny, this blue-haired fellow, just made a claim, and I'll show you the claim he says, where that he thinks that men would majority of the time win full primary custody of the children if only they fought for it. I know this for a fact to be wrong. It's misinformation. There's still the assumption that the mother is the best choice to have for the primary custody, and that the father is just to have visitation and then to pay her support of whatever. Despite a lot of the places in the states trying to say they go 50-50, the female assumption is still there, and it comes down to the fact that usually the men tends to be the primary breadwinner, so they're off working, and because then it comes down to a lot of, they say this it's supposed to be 50-50, but then they say who's spending most time with the children. It tends to be the mother, because usually the father makes more money, he's got the job that pays bills, he goes off, he's working full time, and the mother either doesn't work, she stays at home, raises the children, or she may work a part-time job if the children are in full-time school. But it tends to be that the father, the husband makes the majority of the money. So then the female assumption still lives on. And then it's also the old school way of thinking that the mother is the best choice for the children until the children are much, much older. So, and I'll show you facts, and I'll show you where, information to prove that Destiny's wrong. Unfortunately, being a bisexual man in an open relationship for 1 year does not make him the authority on child custody, and going through what millions of men go through every single day.
It's a person without a child versus a person with a child. That's going to be true all else equal. The reason why men tend to get away with it more than women is because women are often the ones taking care of the kid. Now, you might think in your mind, well, I know some single dads that are really successful, but single dads that fight for custody is already a minority of a minority. So you're already probably selecting for pretty successful guys. So I think
single dads, say that again?
Single dads that are fighting for custody of kids or can take care of their kids, you're already selecting for a pretty rare guy.
Yeah, right, because they don't typically win.
No, because they don't typically fight for it. They usually just cut and run.
But the reason is, I've talked to different attorneys about this, and the reason most attorneys will tell guys not to fight for custody because it's so expensive.
No, they won't. I've talked to the lead attorney too. No. They tell them not to fight because oftentimes they won't win. Because when a court is trying to figure out who's going to get custody of the kid,
it's very expensive. And a lot of times it's like, do you want to waste your life savings when you're most likely are not going to win?
No. None of this is true.
All this is true, 100% true. What Pearl is saying is facts, and it's true, and it's actually the majority of the time.
And
hold on. You can look up all the numbers and all the stuff if you want. The reason why men typically don't fight is because because if they fight and they're in a bad place to win because they haven't been taking care of the kid, they're not going to have a good outcome from the judge. When the judge is looking, let me finish this point yet.
Okay.
When the judge is looking at who gets custody, it's not about who puts up the better defense in court, who's got the more expensive lawyer. It's who spent most time with the child. So if the mom has spent 95% of the time with the kid, doesn't matter how much you pay to a lawyer, you're not going to win custody.
She would do it. She's a housewife.
That is true. See, women tend to be the ones that stay at home, take care of the kids. Usually, obviously they get maternity leave, and then they continue taking the kids while the husband goes out and work. As Auntie Jenny pointed out right there, she's a housewife, so he's already screwed right there because Destiny's right. The mother's been around the majority of the time looking after kids because dad's been out working, so she ends up getting the female assumptions that she knows how to look after kids better because she's been there for raising the kids there, which. If that happens, then, or even if the mother is doing a part-time job, and she's still there doing the kids because the husband's off working his full-time job because he makes better money because he's happens to the better career, then yeah, the mother automatically gets kids because it just seems like she already has made the time for the kids and he's been off working, or like I said, she's a housewife.
When men do fight for custody, they win 60% of the time.
But
That's a bit misleading. What he should actually say is when men are able to fight for custody because they actually have a premise in which the lawyer has said, yeah, I think you have a chance to actually win this and get full custody, they win 60% of the time. So let me just say that again. When men are told and are shown that they may be able to possibly win full custody of the children because they have a premise in which they can maybe use to show that the mother is not a qualified parent to have the kids full time because she has mental health issues, physical issues, dependency issues, whatever it could be, then the men win 60% of the time. That's what Destiny said. He's misconstrued that fact to try to make his point, but he's left out determining factors to actually make that where that stat comes from.
But the problem is, like, women can make it so the dad doesn't even see the kid and then go to court and then say
Whose fault is that? Wait.
He said, whose fault is that? But really what it comes down to is normally the courts will automatically grant the mother temporary custody of the children, and then the mother simply just either will play games that so the father can't see the kids, because she'll either agree to days and then, especially if there's no custody order in place, or visitation order in place, then she'll play games, make sure that, maybe make tentative plans with him, then default on plans, or simply do just not show up, ghost him, or she'll just start making false claims that maybe that the father or something that was she can make false claims that he was abusive in some sort of way, and simply just have a protection order put into place, and then just keep the kids away. And then when she finally goes into court for custody, full custody, full visitation, then she could say that the father hasn't seen the children in several times, and because it's whose fault is it? Well, it's the mothers using the system and playing it to their advantage to be able to get what they want. That's who it is. That's how that works. Destiny trying to make out something like that is playing hide and seek. Yeah, they do, and I've seen it happen several times. It's happened to me. It's happened to other friends of mine, and it happens actually on quite a regular basis. It's just simply women, just mothers, using the system to their advantage, knowing that how easy it is. They just have to make a couple of false claims, no proof, no nothing. Nobody's gonna look further into it. They're gonna take her word as gospel, and that's how it is. So that's kind of where that comes from.
Wait, hold on. Wait, no, wait. Stop. Hold on. You just went on a whole spiel about take accountability for your decisions, blah, blah, blah. And now you're saying what? Is the mom playing hide and go seek with the kid?
Exactly. What do you
take
mean?
accountability?
What do you mean when you say the wife has made it so the husband can't take care of the kid?
Well, you've never heard of cases where women don't let the dad see the kid.
Hold on. Wait. Earlier, you said we weren't going to talk about exceptions. You want to talk about the rules. So don't give me the hide and go seek with the kid.
It's not an exception. It's actually more likely the commonality, and it happens in, I would say, the majority of cases, especially if there's a bit of discontent between mother and father, and obviously the mother wants to have the children with her. Then she'll do, mother will do whatever she can to make sure the kids are with her. So from what I've seen, I've talked to other fathers and stuff like that. This is actually more the majority of cases, and what happens than actually the exception. So Destiny is probably misinformed on this, and what Pearl's saying is actually the majority of the rule.
It's more common than you think.
You're still, you see how you're being snaky there when you say that? It's more common than you think? How often do you think a mom is hiding the kid from the husband? Give me a percentage.
What percentage? That's a good question. I don't know.
Because in the UK, if that be the case, and I work in the industry, it's $275 to get a C101 application to go to the court for contact for your child. It isn't what it is in America. It's very easy. I can go out and do a bottle for $275. So I don't want to hear that excuse because I can go to court and police can turn up at my door if I go against that order. That's what I'm trying to say. So all this expensive thing.
What is the most expensive bad? It's child custody.
Okay, just to kind of touch on something here, this woman actually has talked about, she's talking about this P101, or I think it's actually P100, and that is just to apply to the court. She had to pay that money just to file the application to go to court, to then speak to a judge, and then to start the court proceedings. Now, she thinks that's it. You do that, you get the court order. That is completely misleading and wrong. It's not how it works whatsoever. All you're doing there, if a man files a P101 or P100, I think it is actually, is you're starting the proceedings to have a court eventually decide on the child custody, which majority of the time, I think it's 80 to 90% of the time, goes to the woman's favor anyways. And so I'm going to put up a couple little things here just to kind of show just to kind of explain the show what and a better idea of how much the costs will be, and we're going with that. But she's making out in this is really, I think it's kind of wrong. It's misleading. Maybe she's just misinformed. But that file, that what she's talking about, the 200 and some pounds, I think it's actually got up more, is just the filing fees. That's not to actually get the court order. That's not to take the time off work to travel to go to court. And most likely it's not just a one time you go in, the judge makes a decision at that time. It normally goes longer. Normally the judge wants you to do some sort of mediation, try other things first, which mediation actually costs money, and that's not cheap. That which means there's more time off work because you have to take time off work to go do that, so it's costing you money, so now you have less money coming in, and it just compounds from there. And then what if it gets nasty, which you're fighting because you think you're right to have the kids custody. She's going to fight obviously because she wants to have the kids, and she gets all the child benefits and stuff like that, as well as child support and stuff like that. And then if she lawyers up, you lawyer up, now you're talking lawyers fees, and lawyers fees are 100 and some pounds more per hour. So let's just say you're in court for 2 hours. That's 200 quid you're out pocket right there, and that's for a cheap lawyer. So let's I'll put up a few things, just some stuff I found online, and we'll go from there. The first thing I like you to kind of recognize here is look at the pros and cons going to court. This is more likely geared towards men than women, but it, obviously can go either way. But definitely have a look, and you can see that there's how many more cons there are, and just what it is. Just like to point out that in the UK, if a woman claims any kind of abuse, they should even say that maybe you're verbally abusive to her and just put her down a lot, she instantly gets a free lawyer. So and that right there, a man, now you have to put, she's lawyered up, cost her $0, and now you got to pay lawyer fees. Like I said, we're looking at 100 to 200 to maybe more pounds per hour just to hire a lawyer to try to give you a hand. Now, lawyers' fees, and people don't think only paying a lawyer when they're coming to court. That's not the case. If they're working on a case in their office, yeah, they're billing you, mate. And they're billing you high. Like I said, for each time they put in half an hour, you're getting charged an hour. If they talk to you on the phone about something, they charge you an hour. So if you're just chatting with them and kind of friendly, they're charging you an hour or two. So just that bill can rack up real fast. In fact, there was a fella I just seen in an interview with Pearl, and he actually said he was £5,000 in with a lawyer and barely got anywhere. He actually went through several lawyers because a lot of them they knew it was probably not really worth it. They tried, it was half-assed because they know the court system's so stacked against men that they tried a bit. He actually got better results doing it by himself. Now, mind you, he was a lecturer at a university. He was an engineer or something like that, so he was definitely not a dumb man and fairly highly educated. But he was £5,000 in, got a little ways, and actually had to go the rest of the way. Now, just like to clarify, he actually didn't win his case, and in fact, for some reason, whatever, the child actually ended up in social care system. So all that money spent. And also he hasn't been able to see his child, who's now 13 years old, in about 4 years. So £5,000 spent, loads of time, loads of effort, loads of tears, loads of grief, loads of stress, and it got him absolutely where the child's now in social care and hasn't seen in 4 years. So money well spent, right? I'm not saying that actually works. There's a lot of times guys go into court, woman's all lawyered up, and they just absolutely steamrolled by a lawyer because let's admit it, you're in the fight. You might as well be saying, you step into the ring with like a professional boxer and you expect to win. Right? You're in their ring, you're in their arena, you're what they're trained for, been training years for, are good at doing, and perhaps even specialize in. And now you expect to have even any kind of chance. And that's where I really equate it to, is you're stepping in to ring with someone who's a professional, knows what they're doing, has all the training, and you've got absolutely nothing. You might, you're lucky you know how to hold your hands up properly, and that's about it. And you're gonna get absolutely pummeled, and that's often what happens to men. Women just walk in, they get this free professional who knows how to work the system, how to work it in the court, how to work. Most likely even knows the judge sitting up there because you've been working with for years, and and you expect to get anywhere with it, and guys just get absolutely steamrolled and they end up just getting bent over because it's just how the system is. She gets everything she wants, and the guy walks out, scratches his head, and somehow his rear end hurts a bit more. He has no idea why, and that's kind of, that's equates what it is. So let's move on here. So as you notice here, the lawyer's fees, it states, is 110 to 410 pounds per hour. That's on a government website, so it's kind of give you an average, but I wouldn't doubt if it goes higher depending on what area you're in or what lawyers you hire. If you want to have a really good lawyer or one that's not so specialist. So you can see it's a C100 here. It's 232 pounds just to file for it, and that's only just to start the court proceedings, and you go from there. Now this kind of shows the cost of the going mediation. This is 600 pounds to 1,000 pounds per person. Now if she's on low income and you got a job, then you're paying that fee, but she may actually get it for free or less. She has no obligation to actually accept anything here, and she can actually most likely sit there and just run it up. Try to agree with things, talk things over, because they'll want you to do this. The courts will actually push you to go to mediation, but there's no obligation for anybody to agree to anything. And in fact, she's going to sit there and completely agree to and disagree to everything, fight you and argue with you the whole time, and then you end up back in court and you've actually got nowhere except for now you're several thousand pounds down.
The most expensive thing is the most expensive. The most expensive thing is taking care of the kids. That's the most expensive thing.
Can I just say something? Can I say something?
I think Auntie's been wanting to talk for a second.
I've had my.
All right, so we're going to start with this in here. And this is divorce. Why do women get custody? As it says, although the courts try to presume whoever's best for the parents, it tends to be that in best interest of the kids, it tends to be the mothers get to have the kids first. And that doesn't include the loss of wages you've actually occurred for the fact you've got to take time off work and travel and get yourself there just to be able to go to these mediations to actually end up back in court the same place you stopped, that you started, and no better off, but a heck of a lot more poorer. It kind of explains that mothers are assumed to be the ones to get the children first, and fathers tend to have to fight and try to prove that the mothers are either drug addicts, abusive, neglectful. Pretty much you have to almost make the mother, which is terrible, you have to make them look like a vile human being just to be able to have your child, because the father knows. And it's actually been shown that it's more likely that a child would end up in juvenile hall or have a lot more behavioral issues being raised by a single mother compared to a single father when looking at the stats. Now, I know, not a lot of fathers get primary custody, so, it may be skewed a bit there that the ones do, maybe they have a lot of money, maybe they're in a certain situation. We're talking, the one he's saying is the small amount of men that get it. It's only because it's the top 1% who can afford to do this, because maybe, or it's a man who's like picked himself up and he's doing really well, and then maybe he's got his exes, got mental health issues, maybe he's got substance abuse issues. Maybe that's why they're separated, is because he's left her because she's just an absolute train wreck, got herself in trouble, and she's not good to live with the kids. So you're talking a majority, because if you're looking at equal ground, the mother's going to be automatically assumed she's going to get the kids. That's it. Case closed. And any lawyer is going to probably say, look, you can go fight for your kid, but I'm telling you right now, it's not going to happen, because, the courts are going to automatically assume the mother's good, unless you have evidence, unless you can prove that she's, an absolute danger, and that the kids, is going to be some sort of danger to live there. Then it's pointless in even trying to fight, because it's just going to be, a dead end. You're going to be wasting your money, and you're going to be spending thousands, if not tens of thousands, on a court battle, because she's wanting to fight this. She wants the children. She wants the child support, and you're just going to have to settle for what you can get, which is probably every other weekend, alternating holidays, maybe alternating birthdays, and see the best you can get. But she's going to make sure that she gets primary custody, because if she gets primary custody, then she's financially compensated by getting child support, and that can add up to hundreds and hundreds of dollars per child. So if you have multiple children, before you know it, you're paying half your paycheck is going into her account for the next 18 years. So let's a bit more here, just kind of explaining. And you can see at the top when I started this part here where I've gotten information from. So by any means, you're welcome to look it up, and you can see where I've got information from. This seems like fairly reputable sources. I also just like to point out that the mother can also go and do things like enroll the child in other activities, other care things, and pretty much just pawn the child off onto other people, and then stick you with the bill that have to pay for, if not all, then the large majority of it. So in other words, she's not even taking care of the child, and yet she's making you pay for somebody else to do it for her, so she can go off and do what she likes and have her own special time at your cost. Just another one, just to prove the same thing, that unless the father can prove that the children just have primary custody, stay with the mother, is going to be dangerous to their health, dangerous to well-being, that the mother's not a fit person to be looking after children, then they're automatically going to give full custody to the mother. So you have to fight and prove with proof, with evidence, videos, police reports, whatever, psych evaluations and stuff, to show that the mother is not a fit parent, which unfortunately, is unfortunate to have to do, because as a woman you did love, but you want to have full custody of your kids to look after them, that's what you have to do. So this article kind of shows maybe where it's more likely that the father will win the primary custody of the children. It tends to be either that he's been a stay-at-home dad and she's been out working the majority of the time, being the primary income to the household, which is very rare, because normally the mother who's off on maternity leave to, leading up to birth, to give birth, they're usually the ones that breastfeed, usually the ones that, and the father is usually out working. So and those relationships tend to break down if the mother's out having to work and the father's at home. The only other thing in here, and it shows just where it speaks of, is that unless the mother has mental health issues, substance abuse issues, has had a history of abuse, and this all would have to be proven with actual facts. Just saying it in court would mean nothing, because she refuted it and the courts couldn't believe the mother over the father. So you'd have to show physical evidence that this is to be true, or else it's just, I said, you're just gonna get, it's gonna be brushed off in court. So that's the only time where it's gonna be a lot less of a fight for the father, and where it's much more likely that he'll win full primary custody of the children over the mother, or else, they said, the female assumption, the courts are going to side with the mother, because that's normally what they do, and that's just how it works, despite what Destiny may think. He's wrong, and I prove it. And here, as you can see, the cost would be between $3,000 and $40,000 plus. This also shows here of additional factors that you'd actually have to pay for. So it'd be like costs for like getting dispute resolution, or things for like so mediation, or down to like if you had to get like some sort of like psychological evaluation of the children, or and there's many other things that you'd have to pay for on top of just to be able to fight for it. So now you're looking at $3,000 to $40,000, which now, like as Pearl said, your life savings, because unless you're making $40,000-$50,000, which you're talking like the top 1% or more, you're looking at a lot of money. Even then, let's say you make $50,000, you're paying nearly a year's wages just to fight for this. Years of wages before taxes, before deductions, every single penny going towards this fight, not paying any of your bills. So I'm not sure how many people have kind of like 40, 50,000 laying around, but it shows it is. in closing, I have shown there different articles that does prove it. I tried to focus more on the U.S. because that's where Destiny's from. He lives in Florida. From what I've could find out, he did move around a little bit, but it does show in the states where he's talking about, because I'm trying to base on his knowledge that is it. And I've only touched only a little bit, tip of the iceberg on exactly how it is there. That's not even going into paying child support and alimony payments, which is normally a lot of guys have to pay for, and child support. I mean, a guy misses a few of that, maybe, something happens, loses his job, something he's up to his eyeballs, tens of thousands, hundreds sometimes of thousands of dollars in debt, ends up getting banged up in jail, has to do some jail time, gets out, now he has no house, he has no car, he has no job, and he has a criminal record, so now he can't get a job, but yet he's still accruing all this child support, so he gets banged up again in jail because, well, he has to pay his child support, but he's, living in a cardboard box in the street corner somewhere, and he's, a couple $100,000 in debt to his ex, and who's probably sitting there, probably banged up with some other guy now, freaking living the high life and rubbing their hands together, waiting for this, $300,000-$400,000 that her ex owes, that's living in a freaking, box around the corner, who's, she's going, where's my money? So it's a slippery slope, and I think the family court system needs to change. There's massive changes need to happen. I just don't think it's going to happen. There's too much money made in it. A lot of states I've seen, they get to dip their little greedy little hands into this child support. So if a guy pays child support, they get a cut of that child support, which then pays for the justice system and pays for different other things. So it's just a perpetual, black hole that, I'm hacking into. So I haven't touched into that, but perhaps, I should maybe look further into that, because it's sickening. And it's all across the Western world. Canada's the same way. UK, they have that. They do a little different. They look at percentage and take a certain percentage off of you. States, they just take money and that's it. They just say, you have to pay X amount per kid, pay up, sucker. And that's pretty much how it goes. So, in closing, Mr. Destiny needs to maybe go back to playing his video games, back to his streaming, stick to what he knows, and stay out of things he doesn't know, because unfortunately, when it comes to this, the man knows nothing. His opinion means shit. So, sorry, Destiny. You can dye your hair back and maybe go back to your wife and whoever she's banging. All right. Thanks for watching. See you again. Oh, just in closing, one quick thing. Subscribe to this channel. I was just starting this up. And also, don't forget to check out Just Pearly Things on YouTube. I think she's on Rumble. She's on Locals. Also Instagram. So, let's give a shout out to Pearl and Just Pearly Things. She has some great podcasts. Definitely check them out. Yeah, hopefully I'll see you again in more videos. Ta-ta. See you again.